What is going on? What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's been a while since I uploaded here on this channel, and I do apologize extremely for all that. I know I haven't been doing any gameplay lately. I've just been really doing a lot of gaming not online, but off screen. Off screen, I decided to put in a Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2 and really work grinding on that for a while. I will come back to the channel officially next year. I would say around September. Yes, I got games in the meantime that I could play for you guys. But unfortunately, man, if I start back now, I would run out, because what I'm trying to put my money towards is gameplay capture devices that are needed for older systems, such as the 360, the Retron 5, the PS2, because I have such good classic games for those consoles I want to play for you guys. And I finally got myself a USB disk drive. I think the next thing that I do definitely need to invest in, though, is a hard drive, external memory bank for my laptop, because how I'm going to be playing a lot of those classic games for you guys is going to be on a program that I have. It's the VHS to DVD program, and that's how I was managed to play the PS2 games for you guys. But since there's a little bit more PS2 games now, I never got to. A couple of PS1 games that I ended up buying that I never got to get to. Yeah, and some 360 games, and the Retron Con and the Retro 5 Con games for like Sega and Nintendo and Super Nintendo. These are all games that I want to play for you guys, because I don't own very, very many PS4 games. It may look like I do, but in reality, I do not, unfortunately. But I just wanted to clarify that. Before I get on to the topic I want to talk about, it's a fundamental topic, but I kind of just want to fill in some other things before I do. I haven't been doing any filming like I set out to do at all, and I had my sights set on filming, trying to interview people as well, exploring, which I have done, vesting into these cameras that were cheap, had to get what I could afford, and I wanted to make sure it was okay stuff. Then I stepped it up. I bought a lot of GoPro things. Unfortunately, a lot of that never fell through. A lot of that for me, it never fell through. A lot of certain things got in the way, and if you watch my Cheddar The Awoke Truth channel, you would find out why, because I shared some stuff on there. But I feel though as if what I set out that I wanted to do, I just didn't do it. That's because I explored what there needs to be for right now, but where I'm at as far as programming wise with editing software, it could be better. There is a lot more things I could do with it, but as far as the program and my laptop, it's not the best in the world. It's not. I regret buying the laptop I purchased a year ago, now about to be 2 years old. The reason why I only purchased what I did is because of my poor eyesight. So I needed a laptop screen that I could see. And I would say, honestly, if I were to get back into filming, exploring more, trying to travel if I can, which I doubt it. And I say that because I am putting a lot of my money right now into the house. My main objective at this moment is to get my sister and her family out the house. Me building up money right now to put back into the house, and I'm not going to get done with that until I'm 36 years old, which would be around the year 2028 at the most, maybe 2028, 2029, which is okay. But I do miss going places. I miss traveling. I miss being able to film things. I'm hoping to get back into it, but if I don't, I'll rather just sell my stuff, or donate it. But I spent a lot of money, so I'm probably will end up keeping it protected in storage. Just like I really hope to get back into full-fledged gaming, because I'm going to be investing to a good computer, I think in the year 2025, if I recall correctly. 2025, which is $1,000 computer and almost $1,000 display screen and a good editing program, because I do want to go back into do filming, even if it means exploring the same places, doing what it is that I can do. And maybe some people say, well, if you're going to be investing into a better computer and a better program, even another external hard drive for memory, which is a really good one that's going to hold a lot, then maybe some of you would probably agree to say, hey, maybe you should hold off then coming back to gaming and filming until you truly get what you need, until you can get some things done out the way. And you're probably right. You guys are probably right on that. And, maybe that's what I should do. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what I probably should do. Gather what I need. And then when I come back, I'll come back in a good, big, major way. Because what I've been putting out on my Awoke channel hasn't been the best videos. They've been good topic videos as far as sound and color. But as far as cleaning up and editing, it's just been straight raw upload footage, unfortunately. So there's definitely that right there. Geez, I don't know what else I can really go towards right now. Oh yeah. So for today's topic video, if you're around the 8-minute 19 mark, could you live in a body like Darth Vader's, or Android 17 or 18, or like RoboCop? So this is a very fundamental topic discussion right here. And what I mean, could you live in a body like those guys? Could you manage to really live being like that? And I want to start off with each character individually and breaking down certain things. So I want to start with the first cyborg that I think we all were introduced to, which was Darth Vader. He is more machine than man at that point. So much metal technology, things to help him breathe, eat, a catheter bag is all installed in him, having robotic limbs. And how he got that way was being burnt alive on Mustafar, being defeated by Obi-Wan Kenobi from Revenge of the Sith. Now, Darth Vader stayed that way. If I remember correct, I think George Lucas said Anakin Skywalker stayed in the body of Darth Vader for 30 to 40 years, if I recall. Now, to start off first, imagine living, right? Imagine you living, surviving, being burnt alive like that. having to have your skin cleansed, the burnt skin peeled alive, and you happen to be put into a Vapta tank, right? Just to try to heal your wounds, your scar tissue. Even though your body's going to be scarred, and there's only so much that the Vapta tank that we all learned about that can only heal so much. And Darth Vader's limbs, the reason why they're so heavy, come to find out, his legs and his arm metal is made out of Mandalorian armor. That's why he's able to reflect blaster bolts with his hands. So Mandalorian armor is heavy enough, and imagine it pulling on your scarred tissue inside your joints, having those things with the wires, special tubing put inside you, and you happen to live like that for 30 to 40 years, to where at some point it's hard for you to eat because you have to eat special paste. So you kind of just give up on eating. It's hard for you to pee through the catheter. So you go in to stop, having liquids. It's hard for you to sleep because of how loud your breathing is and being inside that suit. And you just feel weighed down to the point where you just stay awake. You don't eat, you don't use the bathroom, until one day you decide just to give up and say, I'm ready to move on, like Anakin did after he defeated the Emperor, because he didn't want to stay in that robotic body forever, not even after being turned back to the light side. Because honestly, could you really live like that inside of that body with all those things in you, knowing that you outlived everybody you knew? I don't know, man. I really wouldn't want to live like Vader in that regard, because that sounds painful as shit. Nah, I would rather just die off, honestly, in my regard, because I wouldn't want to live like that. Would you guys want to live like Vader, though, in that condition? Because a lot of people would look at it like, well, you're considered the ruler of the galaxy. You get paid a lot of money. You're rich. Yeah, but what's the point if you're inside a broken down body like that that's being kept alive through machinery, Sorry, guys, something in my nose. And I would say the next one I want to get to is RoboCop. Now, RoboCop, the original RoboCop before the remake, RoboCop, Alex Murphy, he had his limbs blown off with a high-powered rifle, shotgun. And he survived through that. But could you, because it's almost like Darth Vader, except in this extent, you as Alex Murphy, not knowing that you're Alex Murphy anymore, because most of your memory's pretty much gone, been wiped. Most of your skull has been replaced with metal wiring, electronics, computer stuff. You still have your facial skin, right? A lot of your main chest area is no longer really human. You may have maybe a little bit of human tissue, maybe a little bit of human blood in you flowing through, maybe maybe 1-2 of your lungs, maybe to keep you going, in your heart. But your brain, I would say the only thing, well, no, then your brain, has all these computer stuff in it as well. So you're like half human, but you're more like a robot, Now, granted, you're able to eat, but you're not able to eat solid foods. You have to eat things like broth or applesauce or baby food. So it's kind of like MREs, kind of like what Vader has to do. And the rest of your limbs, right? They're all robotic, but you don't really feel the pain in those. Now, granted, I don't see how RoboCop was able to really feel his arms and legs get sawed off in part 1, because they're not attached to any nerve central system in his body, because there's barely any of that left. But I would imagine you would feel something. But the fact knowing that okay, I don't want to say you died, but okay, how would you describe RoboCop in that regard? Because he still has a soul, since he's being kept alive, but he's not considered dead. But at the same time, he is dead. So I would say, living like RoboCop, yeah, you have bulletproof armor. You just have to worry about saw blades. Okay, cool. Water, you don't have to worry about so much as rusting. But a lot of your main stuff is pretty much protected from outside elements. You have no need for money, because where you get to stay is pretty much for free. So you would say your paycheck will go towards helping out, keeping updates with electronics, right? To you to stay alive with the scientist doctor that helps you. Okay, cool. Yeah, you carry a gun around inside of your hip. You have disposable hand attachments, such as a flamethrower and an Uzi machine gun and a jetpack. But the fact of knowing that now, as time progresses, you may stumble upon certain areas that you remember from your past life as a human. So then you start remembering things, you start to really, really remember things that you may not, that you start to ask questions for, and so you start digging deeper. You find out who you really are. And you have to accept the fact that that's the life that you had, and that the life you have now is your new life. Because you would think, you don't want to reach out to your son. You don't want to reach out to your wife. It would be better off to really to let them think that you're gone, because could you, as a wife, still love your husband as a robot? Even though there's still living tissue there. Could you, as a child, accept your father as RoboCop? For me, honestly, I think I could handle living as RoboCop better than Darth Vader. But there comes a time in RoboCop's life, he outlives everybody. He's pretty much immortal at this point, because he can't die, even though there's living organisms somewhat still left in him, tissue, blood. But those things have been replaced, though, with other robot enhancements over time. So you would think sometime it would be like, I'm ready to shut myself down and never wake back up, so I could pass on. So for me, I would say I could live as RoboCop until I feel the need not to live anymore as RoboCop. So there's that. So could you guys live like RoboCop, or could you not? The next one are the androids from Dragon Ball Z. So This one right here gets a bit tricky. So we know that they were kidnapped, drugged, I don't want to say killed because they still have their souls, but they have all these android robotic enhancements, right, to make them powerful, to where you don't have to worry about food, sleep. You have infinite amount of energy somehow. Now, they never, well, I don't want to say never, but the androids eventually found out who they were off screen. So, you know, you have humanoid parts in you that are still functional, and you're pretty much considered immortal because your aging process is not normal because you can barely even age. So could you go around living knowing that you're an android but never knowing that you were a human? Now, for the men, I think it would be, I want to say it'd probably be complicated because it's like, shit. Like, I want to, like, because you would want a family, a kid of your own, but you're not able to produce sperm, right? You are able to work, you're able to love. But I think for men, it would get to the point because why? Because it would get so emotional. I think it would get emotional for men. I think it would. I think it would get emotional for men to hardest at 17 because you're practically going to be outliving a lot of people for like 100 years, right? Because here's the thing. You know Android 17 and 18 are still alive in the GT universe after 100 years with Goku Jr. and Vegeta. And you saw a lot of your friends come and go. Now, we get to the women. Now, for Android 18, Krillin summoned Shinron, I believe he said, or reached out to, I forgot what he said, but he had, I think one of the doctors or something, you know, reactivate or put back one of her human functions to have a child. So eventually you finding out, along with the men, you know, you found out that you were once human, right? But you're now an android, but you still have humanoids or human functional body parts. So I think for the women, it might be more easier because the women are able to really produce a child, to have a kid, fall in love, get married. But you would think, you know, you would definitely think after the same thing with the men, like you would outlive a lot of your friends, your children, your grandchildren, because you're practically immortal, you don't age, and now with you practically being alone, like you literally have nobody, you know? The only person you have is your twin brother, and he feels the same way, but you guys barely talk or see each other. So you know, for the women, it would be seldomly more easier for them to be accepted as an android because you're able to still have your family, to produce a family, to have kids, until eventually you outlive them. And the fact of knowing that you can't die unless you self-destruct yourself, that's the only way. So for me, I would say, yeah, I think I would rather be like Android 17 and 18, because you would think they would have to follow certain events, right? Knowing that there's a Vegeta Jr., Goku Jr. that you can reach out to and say, hey, I want to train you two. I knew both of your great grandfathers. And you're able to train them, tell them stories, and take them underneath your wing to train them as fighters and saviors of the world. Because for you, it would be just like having Goku and Vegeta around. At the same time, you would be able to, and Pan would be accepted of it because she already knows who you guys are. But then you have the other Bulma down in the future, so to speak, like the 100-year timeline in GT, who may or may not be so accepted of it, or may be open-minded. Now, you would think that the Sun family would have kept in contact with the Brie family for those 100 years. You would think so. You would think so, because eventually you want the great-grandsons of Vegeta and Goku to be strong like their great-grandfathers. So I think that's why I probably would prefer to really live as an android more than anything, until I feel like there would be nothing more that I could do once they get to a certain level, and I would want to wish to be passed on by the dragon, so I could able to be back with my loved ones in Otherworld. So could you live as the androids from Dragon Ball Z? So that's pretty much the topic discussion I wanted to give for you guys. Pretty much with that being said, hey, I'm out. Peace.